Hi guys, it's Joe again. This time I am back in my own apartment at home in the middle of Los Angeles, and today I'm bringing a different kind of video out, but this is going to be my first crack at kind of one of those, homemade, footage-based commentaries about something that I'm really passionate about. And today I really wanted to kind of dive into my favorite theme park lands, going through and kind of talking a little bit about why I love theme parks, what makes the lands and the architecture so significant to me, and why things stand out the way they do. What I would probably consider right now in January of 2025 to be my top 10 favorite theme park lands. And there's a bit of criteria to be shared here about that, right? You might think when I bring up theme park lands that I'm gonna be rating these places by their rides, attractions, maybe their dining opportunities, things like that, but although maybe there is some bias in some of them, I'm not going to really touch light on the rides or really the attractions of the lands too much specifically, but rather what makes the landscape about them so distinct and unique to me, why I love just being there, like what about the atmosphere is so special to me. So that is what this list is going to kind of cater to. And I want to thank you guys again for being here. Oh, and another really good thing that I should bring up right now, just to not strike any kind of chords in the audience, these lands are going to be majority in Florida, Central Florida theme parks, because I think something that kind of goes hand in hand with making a list like this, these are all places I have spent a lot of time at, right? The places in Central Florida, of course, I went to college there, so naturally those are gonna have a bit more of a special place in my heart than the one land that was at so-and-so park that I got to spend maybe 4 hours at. All right, before we get started, I did want to go through a couple of honorable mentions, just shout out a couple of places that didn't quite make my top 10. First up on my list of honorable mentions, and again, this might be a cop-out to some of you, but I'm gonna put Germany and Oktoberfest in the same little category just for the sake of this video. I know they're technically separate lands at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, but the vibes were very similar to me, and again, that's what this video is gonna be kind of about. So yeah, I loved all the buildings in Germany, just the vibes, the music they were playing, the fantastic walkways, and all the landscaping. They did such a great job. I mean, I was really floored when I was walking through there. Next up, I got Sunset Boulevard at Disney's Hollywood Studios, an unmistakable part of that whole park. You walk down, and of course, you have this beautiful music playing with all of these very tall Hollywood palm trees, lots of fun billboards, so many charming displays in the windows, and of course, at the very end of that long strip is the one and only Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, standing, adding this kind of doom to the whole street, but also still radiating this extreme Hollywood charm. That has gotta be my favorite feel in the entire park. Another honorable mention, we got New York at Universal Studios Florida. This is such a fun little intricate part of this park. The little narrow walkways with so many design choices that are so cool, so many little details up in the windows. It is such a fun part of the park. Next up, I got one that I'm honestly pretty bummed that I didn't find the room for in my top 10, but this is Toon Lagoon at Universal's Islands of Adventure. Of course, home to a couple of fantastic water rides, but really what I love about this place is just how silly, how charming it is. There's so much going on everywhere you look. I can very clearly see this one stretch where they've got all the big comic book displays, a couple of restaurants on both sides of there, and they've got like the water flying through. Naturally there's like the theme park water smell too, just kind of misting through the air as you're walking through there. This one is a bit of a hot take, I think, but I'm gonna put it in my honorable mentions. This is Cars Land for Disney's California Adventure. Honestly, guys, I think this one probably would have been a lot higher if I had gotten to visit it more up until now. But Cars Land's great. It's a beautiful place. So many little Easter eggs from the films, and also it looks fantastic at night. It's gotta be one of the prettiest nighttime sky displays you can see in any theme park. And last but not least, to not make my top 10, and this one also hurts a little bit, Lost Continent at Universal's Islands of Adventure. The design in this land is just fantastic. The music and the ambiance is unmatched. There is really no other place that feels like this, and I love the Lost Continent so much. It's just a fun place to walk around. We're gonna now start my top 10. First, I would like to say that number 10 is going to be Paradise Pier at Disney's California Adventure. Not Pixar Pier, although, yeah, I know, same thing really. But specifically, I have a lot more memories great memories with Paradise Pier from the few visits that I've had to California Adventure. And those were more when I was younger, kind of growing up and starting to do my little whole Disney research, young and Disney adult type things, right? Paradise Pier, although I know it's not much different now as Pixar Pier, but there's something so distinct, so specific about Paradise Pier. Their vision for that land, of course, with having this California-themed beach boardwalk and having California Screamin' kind of built as a seal coaster with the look of the classic white painted wooden roller coasters on the boardwalks you can find all over the state. That's just so brilliant. And that ride, of course, is fantastic. But again, I just really love the atmosphere of walking through. And it's not just me either. They gave this place its own hotel next door, which is also now called the Pixar Pier Hotel. Next up at number 9, again, probably one that I don't know if a lot of people would say, but it's one that sticks out to me so strongly, so I had to put it in here. I'm going to talk about Canada, the Canada Pavilion at Epcot. One of the first countries you'll see if you take a ride going into the World Showcase. This one is very small. There are some lands on this list that are kind of sprawling, have lots of little intricate pathways and stuff. This one's small. It's really just a little loop surrounding the kid cot area and also the little theater where they have the Canada Far and Wide show in Circle Vision 360. Don't forget it. It's a great show. The ambiance here is phenomenal. The smell of the maple popcorn they sell as you enter, I can smell it right now if I'm thinking about it, right? You walk into this land, there's so many cute little pathways. There's so much floral beauty going on in that little pond area as you walk through the pathway. Of course, the castle is so pretty, and that goes hand in hand with the rest of the land. But then you start going through the little queue for Canada Far and Wide, and you stumble upon this secret little waterfall you can't hear or see from anywhere else in the park. You have to be there. And it's just this absolutely stunning little piece that's in the middle of nowhere. Very small, very out of the way, but again, I think that's why I like it so much. But I have spent just so much time wandering through this area, really aimlessly, not really doing much of anything. It's just so pretty. If we're talking looks alone and vibes, ambiance, all the same, this has got to be probably my favorite place in the entire park, if I'm being honest. All right, guys, number 8 is Main Street USA. Specifically, I'm going to be talking about the Magic Kingdom variants, although because there are so many similarities with the Disneyland version, you can honestly assume I'm talking about both because they're equal. They're one and the same to me. I love them all so much. I know I'm not the first, or even probably the millionth person to describe why it is just so perfect and why the spectacle of walking into Magic Kingdom and having all of those things be the first thing you see is just so grand and so spectacular. But really, it is the gateway to the Magic Kingdom. Main Street is the perfect name for it because it really is the first thing that you're going to see as you kind of exit reality. I know, of course, like the plaque outside, and you go into this gateway of magic, the Magic Kingdom. It's fantastic. Of course, the buildings as you're going down the street are very grounded in reality. They look kind of old-fashioned, all inspired by Marceline, Missouri, Walt Disney's hometown, of course, but you can also tell that there's something different to them that makes them different than what you'd see in a town in that time. Of course, they're very colorful. There's amazing music playing. There's all these fun stores, shops, and colorful things going on that really make this feel like a fantasy that isn't real. And it just perfectly introduces what the Magic Kingdom is all about. And walking down that street is unmistakable, and it's brought tears to my eyes going inside and leaving before. It is just an absolute fantastic place that perfectly gives off the energy it needs to in order to welcome any guest into the Magic Kingdom. All right, number 7 is gonna be Asia at Animal Kingdom. This place is breathtaking. Joe Rohde did an amazing job creating everything inside this land. The detail, the attention to detail, the intricate elements from all of the choices in the colors, the displays, the size of buildings, the landscaping and the scenery. It is so surreal and so magnificent. It is one of my favorite places, not only at Animal Kingdom, but probably at any Florida theme park. It is just a treat to walk through there. Of course, it's limited at nighttime just because of the park's policies, but when it is available to walk through at night, it is so peaceful and it's just full of bliss. I love it. But even just walking through the day, sunrise, sunset, anywhere in between, Asia is like truly crafted with love and just an absolute marvel. All right, number 6 is Tomorrowland at Magic Kingdom. Truly, again, a place that I could probably start crying if I think too hard about. I really, really love Tomorrowland. I can hear the music right now as I'm just saying the name and thinking about it. Definitely a land I think I prefer more in the evening. The late nights that I've had with my buddies wandering around Magic Kingdom and finding ourselves in Tomorrowland, because we would almost always end the night on Space Mountain. That is just, I love Tomorrowland so much. And I love that they really have not done a ton to change the design of the land too much. I think that the way that it was constructed, the way that it feels so cohesive, and of course there's so much kinetic energy with the People Mover and the Astro Orbiter and all the lights and sounds that each one of those places has with it. It's just brilliant. It's brilliant. I love Tomorrowland so much. Top 5 time, and we're not going to be going too far from our jump from 6 to 5, because next up is Fantasyland, also at Magic Kingdom. This place is stellar. It is fantastic. Honestly, probably one of the most charming lands of any theme park in the world, if not the most charming, right? I know I said I wasn't going to talk about rides, but truly this is a fantastic lineup. But what's more fantastic is the way that's all presented to the guest. You have to, of course, if you want to, you can go through the castle. There's other ways to access Fantasyland, but the way to get into Fantasyland is to enter the castle and explore all of its surrounding areas when you exit on the other side. There's all these fantastic facades to these dark rides and fantastic smells and sounds. The music, it really feels like you are in one of the classic Golden Age Disney films or one of those amazing Disney princess films. There are just so many things that make this land fantastic. Of course, it got its gigantic overhaul just over a decade ago, adding some new attractions, kind of refreshing some stuff up, touching new things up, but it is great. Number 4, we are going to be leaving Disney to go to Universal Studios Florida, Diagon Alley, an absolute gem of a theme park land. It's fantastic because it truly feels like a town, like a world that is separate from the rest of Universal. Diagon Alley feels so separate. It feels like its complete own entity, its own theme park, because there are so many little scrawling pathways, things to interact with, little notes and attention to detail, so many random little animatronics, little signs, little facades, little music things, smells, of course, with all the fantastic things they have to offer there. Just like secret hallways, secret dark indoor places like Nocturne Alley. That place is amazing, and it's just so well crafted. I know there are some people out there that didn't think a second Harry Potter based land or world was really necessary. Joke's on them, now there's a third one just about to open. But Diagon Alley is deserving of its existence by far. Alright guys, we are now at my number 3. And honestly, 3, 2, and 1, although I have them in a specific order right now, they're interchangeable. I could probably pick each one of these as my favorite on any given day. But I think overall this is a pretty fair use of my passions and like what I prefer. So number 3, with that being said, is none other than Port of Entry at Universal's Islands of Adventure. I know I just said that Main Street is probably like objectively the best entrance to any theme park ever, but my personal favorite is definitely Port of Entry. You can hear this music that plays in that little loop, the area loop specifically. You can hear that as you're wandering City Walk and getting a little bit closer to the entrance of that park there. You go through the turnstiles. The first thing you're gonna read, the adventure begins. I could cry. I won't. Port of Entry is so perfect. They put so much craftsmanship and beauty and care and love into making this the front of the park, and really ties together the theme that Islands of Adventure is really trying to display so perfectly. It's so neat to me that they were able to create this land kind of loosely inspired by like the lost city of Alexandria, some of those types of things, Middle Eastern, Mediterranean influences for sure in the architecture. Of course, the lighthouse is just fantastic, actually does work, circles around at nighttime, you can see it pretty clearly. Again, that's another site you can see all around City Walk, and it just really draws you in, really creates a sense of call to adventure, if you will. Okay, that was cheeky, I know. But yeah, it is just a perfect way to introduce what guests can expect as they are going to be entering this place. And again, the sight lines are so brilliantly placed because as you are kind of wandering into the park, you have to go down this little street, and you can't see much of the rest of the park at first in a similar way to Main Street, right? But what I really love, and this is something I just kind of recently noticed, as you are starting to make your way through that little passageway through port of entry, if you start looking above on the left-hand side to the tops of the buildings, at one point, you can start to see Hulk. And if you're lucky, you'll be passing by that area as a train's going through. And because of the rest of the buildings and facades, you really will only hear the coaster at its full volume when it's cresting over those parts of the track that you'll be able to see from port of entry. And to me, that's like the perfect little sneak peek of what you're about to see, what you're about to feel and experience. It's kind of like, oh yeah, you like what you see, keep walking. You're about to have a bunch more adventure out there. I have explored Islands of Adventure's port of entry so carefully with such a keen eye and noticed so many amazing little details. Like there's these two little birds that are making some cooing love sounds together. I've always called them the little love birds. I love it. I think it's so neat, and it's just such a cool testament to architecture and creativity that they decided to create a land that introduces everything as strongly as port of entry does. All right, number 2, and this is actually going to be the last place on this list at Walt Disney World. And yes, this is going to be none other than Pandora, World of Avatar. It is so unbelievably mesmerizing, one of the most immersive places probably in the world. The visuals there, the attention to detail, the structure and just architecture alone are absolutely brilliant. And it deserves to be this high on the list because of how fantastic it is. And now after seeing these movies, I'm even more floored at how fantastic they did a job of bringing that world to life, because it is not an easy task. It's very unique. On a side note, I think this is also, if not the best place to be in any theme park at nighttime, one of, because the bioluminescence there is beautiful. They really put so much care into making the atmosphere at night specifically so beautiful. And again, I understand that the park does need to close a little bit early, but especially in the winter months when daylight savings is on your time, I cannot recommend enough visiting Pandora at nighttime. It will change your life. Change this, guys. I love it so much. It's so good. At long last, we've made it to number 1 on my list of favorite theme park lands, and there's really no other option for me here. It's honestly the reason that I had the idea to make a video like this to begin with. A place that is so special in my heart, I could make several videos about it on its own. But I'll just get right to it. I'm talking about the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Hogsmeade, at Universal's Islands of Adventure. God, an absolute spectacle in theme park engineering and design. It's a marvel of how fantastic things can be when built with care, precision, and love for the craft. My very first visit to Universal Orlando was honestly just about 5 years ago or so, and I will never forget my first steps into Hogsmeade. Being a pretty big fan of the movies and books, I was so floored and blown away, and I can only imagine the amount of fans that have also had that same, if not stronger of a reaction by seeing it in person for the first time. There's really no words that can describe how special that is. When you create something, when you make an adaptation from films and books and put it into real life, and it just looks and feels as real as Hogsmeade does. It is so cool that they have been able to do that. But just the attention to detail and everywhere you look, up and down, the floor, the walls, the snow-capped rooftops of the little village, which is pretty ironic because it's usually like 85 or 90 degrees when you're wandering through there, but that's besides the point. It is so fun. Each one of those windowsills has something cool going on inside, whether that be like a little animatronic or a fun display of something that is maybe a little Easter egg. Even the restrooms have Easter eggs to the movies, and it is just so cool. And this place is just oozing top to bottom with so much charm, so much authentic detail when they were building it. All the things that you can do as a guest in Hogsmeade, you can see, especially as a fan of the franchise alone, or even if you're not. It's so ridiculously entertaining for fans and people that are just average theme park goers. It's great. And yeah, it is a fantastic place that I truly hope that everyone gets the chance to see at some point. Well, that's gonna wrap up this video. Forgive me for any weird editing or sound, and again, still working on getting a microphone, but again, this is kind of just some new thing for me, and I'm still figuring out how to do this. So thank you guys so much for being here, watching, supporting, liking the video, and all those cool things, sharing with your friends, your family, other theme park nerds, whatever you want to do. But I appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Until the next one. Hopefully it won't be too long.